It's 14 years since I first visited the Pagani factory, and I'd come to see the very first Zonda being built. So it seems only fitting that as you walk into the factory today, you're met by the mightiest Zonda of them all, the wild Zonda R. But it's what's behind this mirrored door that we've really come to see today, because we've got exclusive access to Pagani's inner sanctum, so we can take you under the skin of Pagani's latest supercar, the incredible Huayra.
This is where every Huayra starts its life. This is the inner sanctum at Pagani. And what they do, once they've made all the body panels, it comes onto this styling block. All the pieces are brought together, ready for this man to give it his signature that will actually go off for painting. It's Horacio's signature. There's one little bit he wants fixing on this piece. But I find it exquisite that even though this is going to be a painted car at the end of it, yet again, we find all the carbon weave matching, how the clamshell and the door are absolutely perfectly aligned. When you look round at the front, everything has to have this herringbone, every single weave has to be perfect, right across the car. So this is as naked, bare carbon as you can get. Horacio ticks it, and then it's off to the spray shop. Excuse the noise in here, there's an autoclave humming away, cooking a Huayra body ready for the morning. But I just want to show you this bit. This has just come back from the paint shop. It's going to be an interesting green, but mainly in bare carbon fibre. But if we look inside, there's one detail I think is fantastic on the Huayra, and that's how they've done the heating. If you look here, this is where the ducts come out for the ventilation. But rather than having separate pipes or anything like that, he's actually done it so it's structural, and this is hollow. Blows it around the windscreen for demisting, or up these vents for the dry. Again, it's all to save weight, because there's no additional pipes or anything needed for the ventilation system. So these are the rear flaps on this car. They're all ready attached. This is again come back from the paint shop. Bare carbon underneath, looks absolutely beautiful. We really ought to have a look at what car this is going to be attached in, which is in the room next door. So the rear clamshell is going to go onto this car, and it's got this beautiful titanium exhaust on it. It's actually part of the Club Sport pack, was having this exhaust, carbon ceramic brakes you'll see, and a lift at the front so you can get over curbstones things. They announced the price of the Huayra when it first came out at $825,000, but every single customer now has ticked the Club Sport, so they made it standard and put the price up to $849,000 to include the Club Sport package, 730 horsepower. But I'll take you around the car. There's just details everywhere on this car you've got to see. This is the rear suspension, all done in gold anodized aluminium. They've all been machined from solid. There's no sort of casting here. Each individual piece is done individually by hand. It's exquisite when you see it open like this. Some of the details on this car, they've tried to keep the weight as close to the centre as they could. And so that's meant it's got a unique transverse gearbox in the back. Normally it will stick out the back, but this one, as you can see, it's sized on in the chassis. The rear exhaust, made out of titanium. Beautiful things. It's like the cans you might find on a Ducati or something like that, but its most spectacular feature is it only weighs 10 kilos. And because that weight sort of hangs out the back of the Huayra, that's really critical for handling, because it's a flyweight. It normally should weigh about 25 kilos, something like that. These bits are just exquisite. This is actually what carries the rear clamshell. Absolutely beautiful before it actually gets the spring on it to support the whole frame of the back, but it's just a beautiful movement you don't see normally on these sort of cars. You'll see this tie rod. That's how they do the final adjustment of the clamshell. Come a bit further round. It's a dry sumped engine, V12 twin turbo dry sumped. There's your oil tank is here, all set inside. You can't see it, but hidden away is a petrol tank right behind the bulkhead in the safest possible place you can find one, because Horacio is obsessed with safety. And one of the things mid-engine cars are quite famous for is catching fire. So he's minimised it as much as he can by putting the fuel pumps within the fuel tank and just having the one pipe going to the engine. He was telling me actually earlier, if there's a sensor on the front, we'll find out if the airbags sense they're in an accident, it actually cuts the fuel, but dumps the fuel, what's in the fuel lines, into the engine. So it's locked inside the engine, so it just cannot catch fire. We get to the interior, the tub, carbo titanium is what it's made of. All sorts of little cubby holes when you look inside. You've got one here, if I open the glove box, I've never seen it's got a little shelf on it. And below me it's got another little envelope there to keep things. And then behind your head, there's some more. There's a little envelope to keep it here. There's another little cubby hole in here. This is a little secret one in the door. When it's open, you normally put your sunglasses in there, but few people will actually know there's another little one in there. The only trouble with that one is your doors have to be open to use it. Continue around to the front. Again, we've got this beautiful gold anodized suspension, just like at the rear. But all this bit, all this is in beautiful gloss carbon fibre. You won't see this, but he can't help himself at Pagani. They have to do it in gloss. This one's quite an interesting one. If you see here, these are the intercoolers for the engine. And out to the back of them is a duct. And that duct actually feeds the air round to the brake. So there's going to be a flexible pipe going on here in final assembly. And you think, well, why are they ducting hot air to the brake disc? Well, it's not hot air because it only gets to about 80 degrees. And that primes the disc to the most perfect working temperature, around 80, 85 degrees. I've never seen that on a car before. Continue round. Carbon fibre on top of the radiator, no one's going to see it. It's the best finish you can imagine, and yet it's locked away forever. The other thing about the Huayra, everyone is bespoke to the customer who's ordered it. And this customer is actually one, obviously, he doesn't like a lot of carbon fibre because this is painted here. And it's the only one I've seen, and they've actually painted the whole tub. So there's no bare carbon that I can see visible on the outside of this car. Of course, when you open everything up, then there's bare carbon everywhere. The other thing that's unique on all Paganis, he uses a metal crash structure at the front. I asked him why he doesn't use carbon for this piece, and it's all to do with insurance costs. It's much cheaper to replace a metal frame like this, and it absorbs energy really well. What's really strong in a carbon car is the strength of the tub, but you want the crumple zone still around you, and by using metal to take the main force, it makes it very easy to repair this car, which I hope you never have to do. There we have the one fuel line going to the engine from the fuel tanks with the fuel pumps within the fuel tank. And what's really neat about this is actually Kevlar, like no other fuel pipe I've ever seen. And it has a really neat trick, because I've got the fuel pipe here, but if I do this, it's flame proof. So I can carry on like that, and that will never catch light. Just amazing. So the three cars under construction here are chassis 6, 7 and 8, and this is some of the carbon parts here. Rashi was telling me there's 4,700 parts go into making a Huayra compared to 3,000 on the Zonda. Endless, beautiful carbon fibre parts here they've done. My favourite of all has to be the mirror, which I think is just the most exquisite shape. And I just love the way they actually put the Italian flag within it. It's meant to look like a woman's eye. I think it's just exquisite. It's like jewellery, this cupboard. These are the really precious pieces, the titanium. Take you around them, but there's amazing pieces in here. Here we are, titanium wheel nuts, individual. They're actually exactly the same as the Zonda are. I asked if they're left and right hand thread, but they're all right hand thread. The interior mirror, again, of course, carbon. And really small. I can't get over how narrow that is, but it's aesthetics. Up here is the famous gear change, and the engineers were saying they thought they were all sorted on this, but Harashi decided it wasn't quite the right click, so they spent the last month redoing the click. Paddles go on the steering wheel, so the gear change paddles go on the gear change. Again, these are in smoked titanium look. You can have it in aluminium. I mean, they're behind the steering wheel, for goodness sake, but no, you can choose what finish you want on them. It's just endless in this car. You can see that this is the chassis plate. So this is chassis number 6. This is all this car's going on. Naturally, the Huayra badge, as we've all seen, is actually cut out of one-piece block of aluminium. Just lovely. One of the things I can't get over on this car is how many times it says Pagani on it. It just shows you how bespoke this car is. But here's the hydraulic gearbox activator, Pagani. You see it on here on the brakes, you can see it on the suspension, you can see it on every single nut and bolt, on every cooling hose, on here, on the tank. But my favourite of all has to be on the buckle that actually holds the rear clamshell on, Pagani. It says it's on there as well. There's one final detail I've got to show you, and there's this battery for the Huayra, a lithium-ion battery, and below me, that's made of carbon fibre as well. I've never seen this on a car before. It's incredibly light. I mean, it weighs about 4 or 5 kilos, but for a battery this size, it normally weighs about 12, 13 kilos. That's amazing. And the other thing about it is the price. He won't tell me the exact price, but all he'll tell me it was 13 times more expensive than a conventional battery. So that's a lot. So there we have it. The Pagani Huayra, just stuffed full with the most exquisite details everywhere you look. It's no wonder it costs £849,000, because there is no other car I know that's built to this level of attention. It's exquisite.